God, this is going brilliantly so far. All right, cool. Look, so thanks, Rob, for taking some time out to do this.
You're welcome, man.
Really, really pleased about this because you're one of the guys, and I've been trying to do interviews with people who have influenced me in YouTube. And I came across you when I was trying to learn modes, having played guitar for 25 years, and suddenly realized I knew zero theory. So I thought, time to start learning. And I found a really, really old video of you playing the modes. So you
Did I
had, I
have
think, the
lots of hair?
dreadlocks.
I had lots of hair in a little room and an orange amp and a PRS or
That's
something.
it. Yeah, the little thing here and the yeah. And that's how I came across you, and then kind of the Andertons thing, because Andertons is my local music shop essentially, because I'm just outside Guildford. So kind of came across you that way, and your playing. I'll say that your playing depresses me because it's just so good at times.
Dude,
Not
well,
not not in a
very
bad
much.
way, just in one of those kind of I really wish when I was younger I actually bothered to learn rather than just play Nirvana. But
It,
yeah.
well, that's very nice of you. The problem is, are you self-taught?
Oh yeah.
So you know what's interesting is I recently been teaching a lot of guitar because Chapman did this promo where if you buy a guitar, I teach a lesson online. And something I noticed, it was very eye-opening for me, was that everyone was self-taught. What I mean by that, because obviously you only really you get given information from anywhere you find it, you learn it yourself. But none of them had had a guitar teacher for any particular length of time.
Yeah.
And as a result, there are some pitfalls, some sort of dangers in being self-taught. And the main one, and this was a common theme amongst all of these students who could play, and you know, to an extent, you know, had some technique, but they had all focused on things that they really enjoyed, like learning riffs or learning a little bit of a song, or you know, maybe you know, like a picking pattern. But they hadn't, because they hadn't had a teacher to give them the essential building blocks of what is critical during the development of a player. They didn't have any of the bedrock theory like chords, I mean that. They didn't. Very few of them knew any chords, and that really surprised me. And then I kind of thought, well, I suppose if you're learning how to play pieces of music in your head, when that information goes in, it's a piece of music. You don't isolate each part and think, well, that's a chord. I wonder what's in it and what tweaks it and makes it work differently. And so I've realized being self-taught is really cool, but there are some dangers, and it's important to work out. I think it's important to work backwards from your goal. So if your goal, like for me, it was to be Joe Satriani because he was my god.
Yeah.
All hail the Sat. And I was lucky enough to have a really good guitar teacher when I was a kid called Matt Evas. Taught me for at least a year, and then I went to guitar school and everything. But what I thought in my head was, well, if I want to be like Joe Satriani, what does he do? He obviously knows his chords. He definitely can play pentatonic lead. He looks at the guitar and knows where everything is. So I need to know chords. I need to know some scales. And I need to know how everything connects and works. I guess that's theory. And so I set about to try and get that, you know. And then when I found new teachers, because you always find a new teacher here or there or wherever, and they come at the most unexpected of times. It's important to try and work out, and this is really hard, but try and work out what you don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like only recently, I had a lesson. This is crazy, by the way, and I'm not dropping a name as a kind of a clang, but I had a lesson from Paul Gilbert,
who
I was playing a festival in Norway with him, and he walked into the back room, recognized me, and then sat down and started teaching me, and I was like, ah! But what it highlighted was in this like hour lesson was that I never really targeted intervallics over a chord. So I only just like played the mode or the scale of the chord, but I wasn't targeting a particular note.
Yeah.
And I had this really insightful lesson from him. And then funnily enough, later on from Phil Dyer, who's a fantastic guitar player, who kind of got onto the same thing. And then I started thinking, well, if Paul Gilbert and Phil Dyer tell you that you should target notes over record, probably you should target notes over record. But it was amazing because I got excited because I discovered something that I didn't know.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of these self-taught people fall into the trap of. They find things that are really fun, like a Nirvana riff or a Guns N' Roses lick, but they don't learn what makes it.
Yeah.
Or what it's constructed from. So anyway, I've digressed massively.
No, that's really interesting because I was self-taught 3 or 4 lessons, one of those kind of guys when I was in my teens, and then just played and kind of went to university and played Oasis because that's what got girls in your room. And then as I've got older, I've started playing a lot more blues and stuff and kind of going back to trying to understand how the guitar works. So the eye-opening one for me was realizing I didn't know where anything was on the guitar.
Yeah.
So kind of I know basic open chords and the 7s, a few 9s, that kind of stuff. But you say to me, right, find 6 E's on a guitar. I know where the first one is, it's open. I know where the octave was from that. And it was just trying to relearning how to map the fretboard. Just that, because then it made life a lot simpler, or it makes life a lot simpler when somebody says to you, oh, we're playing in such and such a key when you're playing the blues. And you know that just having 2 positions for a pentatonic off one shape, simple as that. You know, if you want to start playing, if I'm on the A string and I want to play a pentatonic from there, do I have to go and find the A on the E string, or can I just play from where I am?
Yeah.
Little things like that, where you suddenly opens up the fretboard and you think, I don't have to do that horrible thing where you're playing sort of up on the 12th, 13th, 14th and go, right, I need the A pentatonic. I know that starts on the 5th fret on the E string. And that kind of like sliding back down again.
Yeah. There are 2 really interesting traits of male psychology. The first one is that we like to think we can work things out ourselves. And the second one is that we don't like to ask for help. Now, this is evident whenever you buy anything. You don't look at the manual. You get the thing out. You want to work it out. Even if there's a bit you can't work out, you won't look in the manual. You just try and work it out. And then eventually, if it's really, really a problem, you think you might break something, you look in the manual. Or if you're lost, you never ask for directions. You know, you try and find a map on your phone, but you've never asked for help. And I think it's that inbuilt stubbornness to just get it done on your own that has prevented a lot of geezers from just learning, buying a book or you know, focusing on the theory. Whereas I notice in female players, they often know a lot more theory than the guys because they want to get it right. And that's not a sexist thing. It's a difference in the genders. I noticed that the majority of women I have met have had a higher level of theory than the guys that I have educated. And you know, by the way, have you ever seen Larry Basilio play guitar?
No.
My God, Larry Basilio. If you or your viewers or listeners have never seen her playing,
I should look that up. Yeah,
she is phenomenal. She is. I think she's Portuguese. She plays like a combination of Guthrie Govan and Joe Satriani. She is phenomenal. Her rhythmical accentuation, her sense of melody, her phrasing is mind blowing. And she does hybrid picking, and it's all like accurate, perfect. And
I should look her up. Sounds amazing.
Oh man, Lari Basilio, Larry Basilio. She's incredible.
I'll have to look her up. That sounds great. But the psychology around that's really interesting because you're talking about women and learning. And I know this is a real aside for a guitar channel, but if you look at how they apply for jobs, blokes will blag it. If they've got 1 out of 10 things, they'll blag it. Women, because they have to achieve a much higher bar to get through the initial filtering, they won't do it until they've got 80% of the requirements. So, yeah, it doesn't surprise me that most female guitar players, like you look at Nikki Strauss, phenomenal player, and it has to be so much better than male players to get noticed.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're into a really
dangerous territory now.
Well, no, it's not dangerous. It's just that a lot of people skirt around the subject. Like, I'm pretty good mates with Mary Spender, and something that drives her mad is being asked, what's it like being a woman in this industry? You know, it's just like, I think she just wants to say F off. You
Yeah,
know,
but she's too
I'm
polite.
a guitarist, musician, singer, songwriter. You know, can we stop comparing the genders? And I think what it is it's kind of fascinating being in that it's a mainly male oriented industry for men to see a woman playing and being really good. You know, like, have you ever seen Jess Lewis? I think
Yes.
actually she may have now migrated onto bass. Again, a phenomenal player with monster theory.
Mm.
And anyway, yeah, I mean, the problem, the inherent issue with is just that men like women, and as soon as they see them, they comment on the look and they
Yep.
comment on everything other than the playing, because they're thirsty. I think a lot of guys need to just close their eyes and listen to the player and be like, "Damn, that's great playing," you know, rather than focusing on the look and the image and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, good
I mean,
advice.
look at me. I'm
Well,
a
I mean,
mega
hell, I'm
beautiful
on
man.
the lockdown haircut at the moment. This thing shouldn't be there.
I think I have the ultimate lockdown haircut right now. Look at this. I'm gonna put some light behind it to really make it just
Just
stand out.
shine. I'm not allowed
There
to
you
do
go.
that. My kids won't let me shave my head. Oh,
It's
it's a halo,
it's a,
dude.
it's a beautiful thing, isn't it?
Wow. Cool. Right, interview question, just for fun.
Okay, yeah.
So, obviously, the reason I'm doing this is because interesting YouTubers and musicians and people, and you span an interesting gap because you take your sort of musician to YouTube to guitar manufacturer.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm fascinated. I know it's a very long story and you've gone into quite a lot of it, but is there like a synopsis of how you go from kind of musician into YouTuber into I now run a really successful guitar manufacturing company?
Yeah, it's a biggie. That is a biggie. So
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people would look at my career and say, you know, Rob came out of nowhere with Chapman Guitars, or Rob came out of nowhere with Dorje, or whatever. But I mean, the truth of the matter is, I've been in bands since I was 16, and I'm 43, 44. I'm 40 something. I can't even
Same age as
remember.
me.
I was born in 1975 in June.
Oh, you know, you're definitely older than me. You're about 46.
Yeah. So I've always been in bands. I've always been a band guitarist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean by that? Not a guy that was ever going to be a virtuoso, but a guy that loved to play behind the singer, really solid rhythm, a little bit of lead. I just wanted to be in a band. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And that came from, you know, being in love with Metallica and seeing the vibe. And I just thought they were so awesome. And then when I found Joe Satriani and Steve Vai and Marty Friedman and Peter Green and Jimi Hendrix, then I wanted to be like a guitarist and learn to shred and play and have vocal phrasing. I realized pretty early on that they sounded like a singer when they were playing. Well, the bits that stuck in my head sounded like a singer. That's really evidenced by Joe Satriani, like the track "Crying." Always with me, always with you. You can hear a lyric. Sorry, Lee Anderton keeps trying to call me, so I'm just telling him to go in. We just so that you know, I talk to Lee every single day without fail, and we always talk about complete bollocks.
Sounds good.
So yeah, because I realised you could almost hear a lyric in Joe's lead playing, and I twigged. You know, it's like he's being a singer. Anyway, all the singers I employed, worked with to be in other projects, all came with baggage, be it, I mean, just real talk, drugs, or problems like that. And I've never wanted anything to do with that. I am the least rock and roll guy you'll ever meet. I just like good coffee, meals, a banter. I like to go to the cinema. I like old school RPG gaming. So I didn't want to be involved in that, especially if you want to tour professionally across borders. You can't do that kind of crap. And so I decided to sing myself. And that was a really, really hard journey, and it still is. And it's not something that ever came naturally to me, but I embraced the challenge. and I embrace being shit. It's so fundamental to be like, I'm gonna suck so hard, and then at some point I know that I won't. But between here and not sucking, I will go through the suck.
Yeah.
And the guitar company really just came as a result of just doggedly pursuing the idea of being a guitarist and a singer. And I was doing clinics for Faith Acoustic Guitars, and the owner of Faith turned up and offered me a signature electric guitar. And it was just one of these. I'll never forget that day, honestly. I mean, I've talked about this a lot, but
Yeah.
the thing that I'll never forget is him looking at me and sort of saying, "How do all these people know who you are?" And I'm like, "I think it's YouTube, mate. They've seen me on YouTube, so they've come to say hello." And there were like 5 or 6 kids there wanting a photograph or an autograph, and he was like, "We never see this." And I was like, "Well, it's just YouTube. It's like, you know, Radio Caroline, like the old-fashioned pirate radio on a boat. You can say anything you want on YouTube, or you could then." and so they want to see me because of YouTube. And he said, "Well, we should harness this. Let's make you, 10, 20, whatever signature strats or something." And I said, "That's like unbelievably cool." And this was in a McDonald's, and I never eat at McDonald's, but I had some chips, and I was just talking to this guy, Bruce Perrin, his name is. I owe the entirety of my career to Bruce Perrin, as in Chapman Guitars.
Mm.
And but I went on YouTube and said to the viewers, "I've just been offered a signature guitar. Can you believe it? But I don't know what I want. I can make anything. I love everything. What shall I do?" And I just opened it up, and then we ended up collaboratively designing the ML1. And then when that finished, we sold 500 of them. Bruce was retiring, and he said to me, "Listen, Rob, you should really consider launching this as a brand." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he went, "You just sold a load of guitars. You should really just launch a brand." And then lo and behold, Lee Anderton, who I had been working with for about 8, 9 months, I think it was at the time, he'd phoned me up and gone, "I've been watching your videos on YouTube, and they're quite entertaining, and I wondered if you wanted to shoot videos with our little guitar store."
Yeah.
So he had sold loads of these ML1 guitars, and I said, "Should we do it again?" And he went, "Yeah, let's do it again. Let's just do it, you and me, on a handshake, no contract, nothing, just a handshake." We did ML2, then we did ML3, all on a handshake, just friends. Kept going, and then we ended up launching a limited company. And so it was all. I never set out to own a guitar company. It was always, I just wanted to be a singer and a guitarist. Well, really, I just wanted to be a guitarist. I had to sing, as is evidenced in my latest release, Monkey Lord.
Oh, I need to check it out. Actually, I saw you install that the other day. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Please do. Yes. So I released a new album called Chromatic Aberration in my project Monkey Lord. Monkey Lord is just me, instrumental guitar, ambient, landscape, soundscape, soothing, relaxing, feedback, harmonic, chill out stuff. And I really enjoy playing it. But anyway, that's kind of, I'm not going to say it's my final form because I haven't died, but it's definitely, I think 18-year-old me would have listened to Monkey Lord and said, that is what I want to do. I'm very proud of it. I was very scared to release it, but I'm very proud. But anyway, so Lee and I kicked off and did Chapman together, and obviously Matt Hornby joined us, and the three of us have ruled it for the time. But it was just a happy accident. I never set out to be a guitar company guy, and it is tremendously rewarding, and I am unbelievably thankful that it has happened to me, but it has been a distraction from being a musician.
Yeah.
And as has the demonstration work. I mean, all I ever wanted to do was be in a band, play guitar, and do a bit of singing. And and I think if I'm guilty of anything, I'm guilty of biting off way more than I can chew. And the demo work, the guitar company, having a couple of kids, everything has distracted me from pursuing the music, which is really what I've always wanted to do.
Mm.
And but it's great. Take what life gives you and be thankful. And I am very thankful that I have Chapman Guitars. It is amazing. It's amazingly exciting. I've got some really cool, exciting stuff to tell your viewers, to leak through you, that no one else knows about.
Oh well, that's always good. I don't mind hearing those.
Well, I recently, Chapman had always been collaborative. It is collaborative, but I think it's very difficult to be collaborative, truly,
Mm.
because what we've been doing is voting polls, and they have definitely worked to a degree. But inevitably, if you're giving an audience some options to choose from, then it's not 100% collaborative because you're giving them options.
Yeah.
So for a change, I made a video and I called it something like, "You're in charge of Chapman Guitars. What do you
Yeah.
do?" And I said, "Just tell me in the comments what you want, anything, and I'll read." And I read them all. Oh my God, I had a headache. There was so many comments, man. It was crazy. And the one thing that people wanted above all was some kind of custom shop, the ability to configure their own model, put it together, and be in charge of the process of that.
Okay.
So I've worked it out.
Very cool.
I've worked it out, and we're going to be doing that at some point.
Now that is cool. I always vote on these things because I always find it interesting to see what people actually want from the choices you give them. But as you say, it's not a real choice. It's that you can prepare the factory by saying one of these two things will happen.
Yeah.
So
Well,
having the ability to
that's
just
it.
make stuff.
Yeah.
That's
It's
cool.
impossible. A factory's minimum order is something like 25 to 30 instruments if you use a real proper pro-end factory. So of course it's impossible to make guitars to order, but what you can do is you can manufacture lots of parts,
Yeah.
and then you can have them assembled in the UK and set up by my own personal tech.
Very
And
cool.
then if you manufacture 3, 4, 5 necks, 3, 4, 5 bodies, and have various pickup options, there are hundreds of different configurations you can choose from the varying parts. So it's a hugely interesting new potential for Chapman, and it's months away from being finished. But what it offers is what we basically, I listened to what people said. They said, "Rob, we'd really like to just configure our own guitar," and I was like, "Well, then that's what I have to do. How do we do that?" and if it means having my tech sit in a room and build things in England, then that's what we do.
Oh, that's cool. No, I really like the sound of that. That's going to be hard work, man.
Yeah, but you know what? The best things in life come from hard work, don't they?
Well, as you said about happy accidents, and it's funny, the more people I speak to who have happy accidents seem to work really hard to make them happen.
Yeah, no, that's true. It is. Yeah, there's a lot of just what I've told you there is months of work. I mean, it's behind the scenes, unbelievable amounts of work that we can't ever really show the public because you have to own bits of the intellectual chain of creation on a thing. Everything from the CAD, the conception through to the delivery, because the method of delivering a product could add 30-60% to the end price if you get it wrong. And so it's important to make sure that you safeguard every aspect of your business.
Oh, I look forward to seeing more on that. That sounds really interesting. I'm quite excited to see that. Because, like I said, it's one of those things. I've looked at Chapman Guitars, and as over the years, a car going past you or me?
Yeah, sorry, they're loud and hot.
Yeah, and I've looked at Chapman's a few times, and they're definitely on my hit list of things to get hold of. I'm in that cheap phase of guitars at the moment, so I've kind of got cheap Jacksons. Actually, no, let's say cheap. That's not fair. I've got a little Dean somewhere, a little Flying V Dean that cost me about 30 quid on eBay. But
Nice.
I do like my guitars, and I kind of go through phases of what I've got. And I've hit a point where I had a load of them, then sort of whittled it down to just the ones that gave me the sounds I was trying to use to record.
Yeah, I mean, I guess how many paintbrushes do you need? But then the thing is,
Yeah,
they're great looking paintbrushes, aren't they?
they damn well are. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, some more so than others. I've got a lovely custom Telecaster that a friend of mine built who lives near me, and it looks like a barn door. And it's just a Telecaster shape cut out of what looks like it's like floorboards type things.
That's great.
I'll send you a pic later. It's just a lovely guitar, and he's a little luthier who lives down the road from me, and he's built loads of these kind of guitars. And he does really high end stuff as well. But this one,
What's his name?
he's called Jason. He runs a company called Maybury Guitars.
I'll check him out.
Yeah,
Sounds
no, he
good,
makes
man.
some fantastic stuff. Just in his shed, in between his day job and his kids and stuff.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know. And I love that. I know loads of pedal builders doing the same sort of thing, and kind of I love the creativity in the industry. And I was saying to what is this, Andy Ferris, possibly. It's just such a lovely community. The guitar community is one of the Okay, I'll be careful how I phrase this. The majority of people I've come across in the music industry and kind of this YouTube world have been fantastic. Admittedly, there are exceptions.
If people feel angry and frustrated, then what you see in the comment section is angry and frustrated people, and it's a mirror. You know, whenever you see a comment of someone saying, "Chappers, you're so fat, lose some weight, fatty," you can guarantee that they're probably overweight. It's just to do with, it's a vent. It's a way of getting out of them, you know, whatever it is they need to do. Because no one, I mean, you know, for example, we all know that I've been trolled a few times, as has anybody that breathes and exists on YouTube. It's and yet very few of them have ever met me, and you know, nobody hates someone really until they've met them and had a reason to hate somebody. You know, like if I watch a video and I really hate somebody I'm watching a video, I've got a problem. You know, just turn over and watch something else. I mean, it's, you know, you don't really hate that person. What's happening is it's a psychological catharsis you're experiencing. You're venting an emotion that's being enabled through viewing, and I think it's important to just deep breath, take a step back, and think: do I really feel that angry, or am I just angry at my dad? You know,
let's go Freudian with it now. Yeah.
Do I need a hug? Do I, you know, all that kind of stuff? I mean, it is funny. It's YouTube is the internet is a theatre, and everybody plays a role.
Absolutely.
And I think it's important to realise that although it's real life existing on YouTube, YouTube is not real life.
No, and it's if you put the effort in, it's really worthwhile. If you aren't interested in putting the effort in, just get out. It's not worth it. And I think there are some people who get frustrated because they've had no success, even though they think they're really good at something.
Yeah, and also define success. And then the other thing is that success can come and go. I mean, you look at my channel. I mean, my views have gone up, down, and up, down, and up, and then they're going down and up again. And the same with subscribers. I mean, subscribers, the number of subscribers has very little to do with your, you know, ability to get views on YouTube. And ultimately, none of it really is a thing. None of it really matters. I mean, all that matters is that you are enjoying your creativity and loving playing the instrument, making music, and being involved in the community. The number of views or subscribers doesn't really matter. It's again, what I've begun to realize now is that, I mean, I see this in myself. If I want to buy something, I go to YouTube to look at it. So it's become a shopping enabler. And if I want to learn something, I go to YouTube. Other than that, I think it's deviated away from being an entertainment platform. I think, you know, there are other areas where entertainment is more prevalent. So if your content is not quick format, 3.5, 4 minute education, simplistic education, or, really detailed product demonstration. I think there's a lack of interest, but then it depends on the market.
Hey, this
Are
will
you
get 30 views,
yeah.
and those 30
Um,
people would be really interested. But
well, but then again, it doesn't matter. I'm
no.
not doing this for personal gain. I'm not doing this so that 30 people find my channel. I'm doing it because when I saw your content, I thought you were genuine.
Oh, thank you.
And an interesting conversation takes an hour of my time while I'm sat here setting up a video for a shoot.
You sound about as tired as me today. Actually, it's the
Uh,
Mondayest of Mondays.
well, I'm like you. I got a couple of kids, and they got me up at 7 o'clock this morning. So I went to bed at 1 o'clock because I was doing some work. I'm actually. This isn't a plug. I'm just talking about it.
No, I was
it's
going to
gonna
ask
be
you what you're up to at the moment. So,
Well, I made the decision. The last time I released the Guitar Tuition DVD,
oh,
was back in the very early 2000s. It was the Orange Amp Clinician DVD, and I thought, you know what, it's time to release a new guitar lesson product.
yeah, cool.
And so it won't be a DVD; it'll be a download, but it's going to be a time capsule of essential knowledge for guitarists to use throughout your career. Not just here's a lick, but when do you need a manager? How do you get an endorsement? How do you monetize your career? All of the deep knowledge that I don't share on YouTube. Things that I've learned over being in this industry for 15 years plus, as a professional guitar player, singer, beard farmer. And there will be guitar tuition on it, but there'll be a lot of deep knowledge on industry, essential skills to acquire, hacking various areas, social media, things that if you want to be a guitar player and you want to dominate the landscape from now until the next 20 years, I'm going to take my brain out and go into this project.
Ah, that sounds really cool as well. So you got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, I've got a lot of I've got a lot of stuff going on, but I just made the decision. It's the right time. I've got time because we're locked down. I've got a recording studio, and so I thought, you know what, it's time to film an awesome DVD, and I'm going to call it Greetings.
Okay.
Well, Greetings, the guitarist's grimoire.
All right, go on. What's the story?
Well, that's basically it's the I don't want to use the word Bible, but it's the toolkit for the guitarist.
That
That's
sounds
right.
cool. I like the idea that it's not just the tuition video. It's a kind of here's interesting stuff that you might need if you're going to do this.
Yeah.
I think that's quite a cool way of approach, because I've seen you started doing some guitar videos again on and off. I think in the first week of lockdown, you did a real sort of beginner's guitar lesson again, and kind of
Yeah.
starting to revisit some of your old ones. Because I said I've watched a lot of your old videos, and I think you've been kind of modernizing a few of them and adding a few more interesting tips, which has been
Yeah,
great.
because I noticed that I had a lot of all of a sudden, after my recent problems, I had a flood of new subscribers, and a lot of them were people who had just wanted to see what the fuss was about and found me, and a lot of them were beginners. And so I thought, well, I'll make a beginning lesson, and yeah, I think it's really easy to forget how it was when you can't play.
Yeah.
When you buy a guitar, um, how does it work? So I thought it might be an idea to just make that, help people out.
That's cool.
And I kind of enjoy teaching. I've always loved teaching. It's been something that I find it's when you unlock that thing in somebody by going do that, and they go, oh my god, I love that feeling. It's quite a nice feeling, isn't it?
That's why I quite like sort of talking at conferences and stuff, and just you occasionally get that little ripple of, oh, I hadn't thought of that, and it's just such a great feeling.
Yeah.
So 2 more questions, and I shall leave you back to your life.
Okay.
First one is still guitar related, kind of YouTube and career, and you might have already touched on this, but what's kind of a real highlight that stands out as that was kind of not my biggest moment, but something I'm most proud of?
Oh my god. Um, okay. Uh, can I preface this by saying it's very difficult to talk about something that you are proud of without it sounding like you are boasting. I'm not.
Brilliant.
I'm simply answering the question. I had the opportunity to interview. I got booked to play a festival, and I got up on stage and I played with Steve Vai. I None of this was filmed because we weren't allowed to film it, which was a shame. But also, it kind of forced me to memorize the whole experience.
Hmm.
There probably are videos of it online somewhere, actually. I interviewed him for about 45 minutes to an hour. I didn't ask him a single question about guitar playing. I asked him about engineering, production, and writing. And at the end of the interview, he turned to me and said, "That was one of the best interviews I've ever had in my life." And I welled up. It was so emotional, because he is fanatical about the process
Mm.
and the writing. He got his phone out of his pocket, put it up to the microphone, and he played off of his phone 3 or 4 songs that he had written, and he harmonized vocally with it
Oh wow.
to elucidate the process of writing this. And then he played his set, and I got up with him, and I got to play "Wind Cries Mary." And
Nice.
he turned to me and said, "Get back to back, back. We'll play the vocal melody." So I had my back to Steve Vai's back, and we were playing the vocal melody of "The Wind Cries Mary." And he bent over and said, "Man, you sound great."
Ah.
And at that point, I, I my breast swole, and I felt proud. I felt proud like when about half as proud as when I held my son. It was that
I
feeling
like the
of
fact. I like the fact you've had to say half as it.
it
So
was well, any father will know that feeling of when you
yeah,
first hold your son or your daughter for the first time. It's half that feeling. That's a lot of feeling.
that is a lot of
And
feeling.
what it was just masses of validation from a hero. I love Steve Vai. He's such a nice guy. I wish I'd met Joe the same way. But Steve was brilliant, and to get up and play with him was, I mean, beyond a dream come true. For him to say that he thought my playing was great was unbelievable. He didn't need to say that, you know.
No.
It's one of those things. So I am the most proud of. That was the proudest I have felt.
Mm.
The thing I have accomplished that I am the most proud of musically would be Chromatic Aberration by Monkey Lord. That album for me was one of the hardest things I have ever recorded, and it is definitely different, and it is. I think it's an emotional recording, and it's one that is an expose of the inside of me. You know, so I'm very proud of that work.
Oh, I shall be downloading that after this. Have a listen. Sounds like a good sort of stuff to have in the background while I'm working as well.
That's it. What I wanted to do was make something that you could put on in the background, and I don't want to say ignore, but it would blend into your work or your life or
Mm.
gaming. It would become a part of it. Or you could put on a set of cans and get really involved in it. It
Yeah,
needed to be able to do both. So it's
that sounds cool.
thank you.
So, last question, totally non-guitar related, and one that has fascinated me for a while: martial arts. Now, the reason I asked this is personally, I had a long journey in martial arts until I did my back in. I've been fascinated because you mention it quite a lot that you've got various sort of through your life, you've done various different martial arts. And I'm curious to know kind of how you feel that has helped you evolve. Because I know personally, it's what changed me from being really introverted, incredibly nervous, to be able to stand on stage and deliver talks and kind of just be a bit more able to do this kind of stuff. So I'm really interested to know how that's affected you over the last sort of 10, 15 years.
I think massively. I mean, I think almost everything that I have been able to do in this career has come about through the practice of my martial arts for I mean ever since I was 8. And I think it's having the confidence to do something. I think it is having the perseverance to work at things that you find difficult. I think it is having the flexibility of mind to find what you can do rather than being stuck on what you cannot do.
Mhm.
I think it is, I mean, you'll understand when I talk about Taoism, Tao, the way of nature, flexibility, you know, non-action, trying really hard to follow gut feeling and instinct, perseverance and confidence in something that is essential for you to learn. All of those gifts came from my studying real Chinese martial arts for quite a long time, and teaching. I taught professionally for many years. In fact,
Oh,
that's
wow.
what I was going to do for a career, was just teach martial arts and acupuncture. My father's an acupuncturist, so I grew up. He's on the British Acupuncture Council. He does childbirth and end of life, everything.
Yeah.
So he's not sort of done a weekend course. He's spent he spent years and years of his life treating thousands of patients, everywhere. And so I obviously studied from my father Chinese medicine. But even before that, I was fascinated with real Chinese martial arts. And what I mean by real Chinese martial arts is um, old Chinese martial systems that were developed to kill people.
Mhm.
The side effect of which is that you become healthy, and not the acrobatic,
Yeah. Not sport martial art.
not wushu, not the.
Mm.
So China went through this cultural revolution, through which martial arts were changed, masters were killed, and they turned it into an acrobatic display.
Yeah.
And so, what a lot of people see as being kung fu or Chinese martial arts on YouTube, it's not real.
Mm.
Not even slightly real. In real Chinese martial arts, it's very simplistic. It's individual movements done in a line. There's a lot of grappling and breaking and gouging and choking,
Yeah.
and there's hardly any flamboyant movements or kicking. None of it is without a meaning.
Yeah.
Everything has a very specific, and you know every meaning, and it takes a long time to learn. So, for example, Xing Yichuan, which is the system that I spent the most time with. If you look at it, and again, Xing Yichuan you'll find on YouTube like Wushu Xing Yichuan, which is very flamboyant movements,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so it's not like that at all. It's elbows and knees and shoulder barges and breaks. It's brutality. You could apply it in a cage, on the street. It was designed for use with a spear to go to war and kill people with. So it's brutal AF. And it's very hard to train because you spend a long time static in low postures, developing density of the bones.
Mhm.
If you hold a low posture with the legs, like a horse stance, you know about horse stance.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you hold a really low posture on one leg, the compression of the muscles thickens the tendon and the bones, and it radically alters the structure of your legs. Um, anyway, I could talk about this subject for years
It
because I
fascinates me. Thank you very much, Rob. Is there anything other than the channel that I'll put down the bottom, the album I'll put down the bottom? Is there anything else you want to say?
yeah, just everybody, please stay healthy, stay safe. And I know it's really hard, but stay as positive and as happy as you can, because it's so important for us all to just fucking chill right now and just love each other and have good happiness vibes.
Thank you, mate. That is really good. Thank you very much.
All right, man. Take it easy,
Done.
buddy.
Cheers, man. Thank you.